Honourable Chester Borrows.
Mr Speaker, and I'm pleased to be able to take a call in this debate, and I'm pleased to be able to have found at least one thing I can agree with the previous speaker on, and that is that education is important. In fact, education is extremely important. I'm very, very disappointed to hear, though not surprised, that she wants to keep on referring to this government as anti-education. Because I come from a part of the world, South Taranaki and Wanganui, and in my electorate, in one very small part of the electorate, I've got 10 schools that were shut by that government over there, and none of them raised a squeak about it. You can still drive down State Highway 45, see a big billboard on the side of the road with a picture of a duck on it that says open season on mallards, and it's 2002 since he shut those schools. 2002. They came in and they shut a school, and I'll just pick on one of the schools, T. Curry School. One of the schools they shut was T. Curry School, and with the year that they shut it, 3 of the students from T. Curry School were duxers in Taranaki high schools, and they shut it down. So they want to talk about a national party who is anti-education. It is the Labor Party who isn't prepared to be creative enough to look at education and see where those improvements can be made. Because they think that the only answer is class sizes. They don't even believe in the people they consider their own in the teaching fraternity. They don't even believe in them enough to understand that it is about creation, innovation. It is about looking at those young people who are sitting in front of them and dealing with the concerns that they have. No one on the Labor Party wants to concede, for instance, for one moment that we have a 20% tail within our education system and to look at who they are. Because that 20% tail was there in 1999 when they came into government, and that 20% tail is still there when they left in 2008, and they had done nothing with those people. And I reiterate that they are people. They are people, and as long as they want to keep treating students in this country as a commodity, because that's how the Labor Party treats them. They don't believe they've got faces and names and parents and addresses and a future. They want to treat them as a commodity, and they only want to treat them as voters, and they consider them their commodity, their voters. And the reason why people on this side of the House talk about the politics of envy is because the way that they treated those people. When you've listened to the last 3 speakers from the Labor Party, what have they talked about? They have talked about protecting the rich and doing nothing for vulnerable people. Absolute rubbish. Let's go back to that 20% I was talking about. I was visiting a school in my electorate not too long ago, Manoa Primary School, and the headmaster came to me and he said, look, here is the tale that you're talking about. Who are these people? These people and these students are the people that Labor would consider are their voters. And what they have done with them through the welfare system and through the education system is say, we're going to lower class sizes. And what we know is that the target that this budget sets as far as class sizes go is exactly the class sizes that were in 2005. Exactly. And what we know that is in the period of the Labor government, the number of teachers within the education system went up about 12.5%. And so class sizes went down. What happened to that tail we talked about? Nothing. Nothing. What we also found is in that same time that those teachers' numbers went up 12.5%, the number of students went up 2%, and that explains why those class sizes were down. What we also know is this, that those people that the Labor Party claim as their own and their voters, those people that they snuggle up to the teachers' unions and tell them how hard done by they are, because when you go into every school classroom, what do you find on the notice board? The latest press release out of the education spokesman from the Labor Party. That's the deal. But it's interesting because what happens there is this. They are funded, just like Labor, those teachers, those schools are funded for 15 students per teacher in the first year of education. But how many kids are in those classrooms? Because there's not only 15. What do they do with those extra teaching places? They are the ones who are trying to look after their votes. Let's have a little look at private schools, because Sue Moroney mentioned in private schools. Apparently, everyone on this side of the house, their kids only go to private schools. They just want to lump us into they just want to lump national voters and National Party politicians, and apparently we've all got a batch north of Auckland as well. Or there's another batch apparently at Pauanui or wherever you get to if you ever go over whatever that bloody bridge is. The point is, what do they do with private schools in their term of government? Trevor Mallard said, "Yep, help yourself." When he was approached by his mates in the Exclusive Brethren, said, "We want to open a whole lot of independent schools." Trevor Mallard said, "Yep, help yourself." But we're not going to give them any more money at all. So the cap on private schooling went so far down. That was it. The national government came in and saw a need and saw the contribution that private schools make to our education system, to our communities and to our ongoing economy. And so that's when that cap was lifted. What we do know is that along with our 50,000 teachers that are operating within our schooling system, there is another 35,000 people working in their classrooms and in the schools on that payroll. Now, Mr Little over there would like to say they're all cleaners. No, they're not. They're people working in classrooms, adding to the education benefits of young people who are working in the school. And on top of that, there's another 2,500 principals who are working in that system too. So that is built up over time, and what we are doing here is we are saying this. We don't believe that the only answer to educational achievement in this country is on class sizes. And I think if you went and spoke to the average New Zealander, they would agree. They would say it's important, but they would not say it's the only thing. They would say, look, my kid was in a class last year, I had a teacher, she had a teacher who did this, she had a teacher who did that. Every one of us can look back on our schooling career and we can think of a teacher that made a huge difference to us. And I can think back to a teacher that I had in Standard 4, incredible guy, had him for 2 terms. His name's Gary Exeter. He was teaching at Nayland Primary School and he was only 22 years old. Absolutely fantastic teacher, still making a difference in the lives of people today because he's still in the classroom and he's still teaching. Every one of us too, though, can think back on a teacher we would rather not have again. And we would like to go, we could think back on a teacher that has probably wasn't happy in his job, maybe he bit it off too early, maybe the decisions that we make sometimes as 18, 19, 20-year-olds to go off and do a teaching degree isn't the decision we would make if we made it now. There are teachers within the education system, probably, just like there are police and panel beaters and people in the newspaper industry and politicians who some days think maybe this wasn't for me, maybe like Mr Jones has today. But in any event, what I want to say is this. The difference between the Labour Party and the National Party on this issue, just this issue, is that Labour thinks the answer is on class sizes. National believes it is about innovation. It is about creativity. It is about people who want to get up in the morning and go along to work and do what pushes their buttons. What Labour hates is this. They hate the fact that National is prepared to look at an issue and deal with it creatively. National is prepared to look at a welfare system and realise that we can do more than just throw money and walk away. National believes that we should treat people who happen to have a vote as an individual. Labour believes the only way they can maintain their vote is to treat people as a commodity, and if they don't keep them poor and pissed off, they won't vote for them.
Honourable Simon Bridges.
What an outstanding speech we have